locked in.
Look at what we have here, folks.
To the only show that matters.
The cream of the crop.
Duke loves wrestling.
And there is no one that does it better than
your host.
I have come here to chew bubblegum and kick ass.
The Duke.
And I'm all out of bubblegum.
So season 2 of WoW Superheroes has just been incredible, as you know, folks. It just really has been exciting, quality wrestling product on Access TV. Once again, you can catch it every Saturday night, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And I got to tell you, this past Saturday's episode was crazy because WoW Superheroes champion, Tessa Blanchard, she was allowed to choose her opponent to defend the championship against, and she chose someone who's making their season 2 WoW Superheroes debut. And let me tell you something, that match was intense. It was crazy there. And I said, you know something? Let me do the right thing by the Duke Loves Wrestling fans. Let me get this young lady who was in that match to come on and tell the whole world about it. So without further ado, welcome to the Duke Loves Wrestling podcast, the Luchadora Serpentine. How are you, Serpentine?
Well, I was just waiting for you to shut up so I can talk, you know?
Oh, I'm sorry. Wow. Okay. Listen, wait a second. Your lawyer told me that I could ask you a few important questions here. Is that not allowed?
Yes, but the reason why I have her as an attorney, Sofia Lopez, the best attorney in the world, is because I pay her thousands and thousands of dollars. I'm surprised that she couldn't even take this phone call because she knows I'm busy, laying on my layers. I'm a pretty important person, believe it or not.
Well, you certainly proved how important you were. I want to know, and the entire wrestling world wants to know, how the heck did you get a championship match against Tessa Blanchard, your first match, season 2 of WoW Superheroes?
Why wouldn't I? Think about it. I am the only luchadora in the whole entire roster. Somebody that has traveled all over the world, not only as a wrestler, but as somebody that has a lot of, ¿cómo decimos en español? Con mucha categoría y con mucha, que somos gente muy importante. So I know that Tessa Blanchard acknowledged that, and of course she acknowledged that I'm one of the best of the roster in women's sub wrestling.
Okay, I'm going to have to go back and get a translator for that. My Spanish from high school was okay, but that was a little too fast for me. But Tessa Blanchard, she really pushed you to the limits there, and although I will admit, you kind of surprised her with the pushback that you gave. So talk to us about that match. How intense was that?
It was a very pretty intense match. I think we win, it was like 16 to 20 minutes. To be somebody that can stand toe-to-toe with somebody as a caliber of Tessa Blanchard says a lot. And for me to do my debut on the second show on a championship match, I'm setting the bar very, very high for the rest of the ladies of women's of wrestling.
Well, you certainly are, and you're paying your attorney, Sofia Lopez, like you said, thousands of dollars. Be honest with us here. I'm going to ask you this directly because, on the Duke Loves Wrestling podcast, we ask the tough questions. So, Luchadora Serpentine, did you pay Tessa Blanchard for that match? Be honest.
No, I don't need to pay. I don't need to pay her anything.
Wow.
Like I said, she chose me because she wanted to show right off the bat what she's capable of, and she knew that having me on the ring would be the only way that she could do that.
Well, yeah, you heard it there, folks. Boy, talk to us about something here because, like you said, you are the luchadora of WoW Superheroes. And I know, the history of Mexican wrestling, lucha libre, the whole concept of the luchadors and the luchadoras, there's a lot of history that goes back to the early 1900s. How does it feel to be the standard bearer in modern times, to carry that illustrious history and tradition on today?
Well, it feels very special because you can bring something completely different to a program like this, a show like this. Being the only masked luchador on the show, I carry that mask with a lot of pride because not only I carry my heritage, I'm carrying my culture and I carry my history. And representing it the way that I'm doing it, it's very, very amazing to me.
Well, and I got to tell you, what you do in the ring is certainly amazing, and boy, is it stiff. I mean, goodness gracious, I was wincing when I saw you do some of these things that you do there. It's like, oh my goodness, this lady is really tough. Where does that come from? Where does this mean streak, this toughness, this viciousness in the ring that Luchadora Serpentine has? Where does that come from?
I mean, it definitely comes from my ancestors. I mean, I come from a great lineage of Aztec warriors, and we are fearless. We're fearless people that we don't care about who is right next to us, and we're there for the kill. So as you can see, I wasn't playing any game, and I was there to get what I wanted, and that was a championship.
Yeah, you definitely took it to the limit, that's for sure. We're talking to the Luchadora Serpentine from WOW Superheroes. Once again, folks, you can catch WOW Superheroes every Saturday night, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Access TV. Now, I did my research on you there, Luchadora Serpentine. You have an interesting deal going on here where you have wrestled all over the world. I want to know something, though. I want to know something very important because, you know, I'm the Duke. I love wrestling, but I also love food. If I go to some place like, say, Japan, because I know you've wrestled in Japan before, what is the number one dish in Japan that Luchadora Serpentine, what does she get every single time she goes to Japan?
Ramen. I love ramen. Good ramen. Like pork ramen with eggs and with very spicy and handmade noodles. That's my go-to. If not, I usually travel to Sapporo where they have the best sushi in the world. It's the freshest fish ever. And I'll have sashimi or sushi and a good craft beer along with it. Because I love craft beer. Because, you know, when you travel to different places and different countries and different cities, you always like to taste what the locals eat. Absolutely.
And I'll tell you, you know, Japan, shout out to Sapporo and Ichiban. Those are some of the best beers in the world. I'm not sure if those are the types of beers that you drink there, but I certainly love those Japanese beers. It's interesting because you are in incredible shape. I mean, just incredible shape, and it doesn't surprise me that the foods that you mentioned are pretty healthy foods there. Talk to us about your training. I mean, for somebody who travels so much all over the world, beating people up from one continent to the next, how do you maintain such an excellent figure and these great muscles and this great stamina and what have you?
Well, I have great trainers right now. I have a team of people that are helping me train properly, which has helped me achieve one of the best shapes that I've been in my life. With that said, when I'm not in town, I have different gyms that I can attend for free, you know, because I'm very important. So I use some of the trainings that I've been learning for the last couple of years, and I train like that in there. I also I started training MMA and jiu-jitsu with gi no gi, so that helps me so much with my conditioning. I really put everything together, and that's what has been helping me to look the way that I look. But it takes a while. I mean, people might think that you only go to the gym for 1 hour or 2 hours. To be in the condition that I am and being completely clean, doing it in a clean way, it takes between 4 to 5 hours of training every day, at least 5 times a week.
Wow. I can't even imagine that. I mean, if I'm in the gym more than 45 minutes, then, you know, I might lose this little beer belly of mine. So I can't have that there. But you, on the other hand, you're in the gym 4 or 5 hours in a session, and it shows. So that's impressive stuff there. Now, tell us here, what is Luchadora Serpentine's goals for WoW Superheroes, especially here in Season 2? What are you trying to get out of the company? What are you trying to accomplish here?
Well, what I'm trying to accomplish is, one, for people to, know who I am and to remember who Luchadora Serpentine is, because I'm so different. My methods are unorthodox. And also, people can't really, think what's next for them. Every time I get in the ring, it's something different. That's what separates me, like I was saying, from the other chicks, or the other ladies of wrestling. And they are going to expect a lot of hard-hitting, very vicious wrestling style, and it's we'll call it hybrid type of wrestling, because I am very unique, and I'll continue to be unique, and I'm so excited. I'm in WoW this season.
And speaking of excited, I'm actually a little concerned here. I just got a text message, folks. This is breaking news from the world's greatest attorney, Sofia Lopez, and I quote, "Her name is Serpentine. If you call her Serpentine one more time, I will sue you."
Yes,
okay.
Please.
Okay.
Right.
Serpentine. I do not want to be sued. I don't want to be beat up. I don't want any problems from anybody here. So let me just make sure I get this right here. So once again, it is Luchadora Serpentine, WoW Superheroes, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time every Saturday on Access TV. And
yes.
Before I let you go here, if I'm really nice to you, will you take me out for some ramen?
Absolutely. But if you're going to go with me, you're probably going to go with one of my servants, because I don't talk to people like you.
Let me tell you something, man. I have interviewed Bob Backlund. I've interviewed Big Vito. I've interviewed Jazz. I've interviewed Rodney Mack, Al Snow. I've interviewed all these people who could definitely do some serious damage if they wanted to. And I have to say, in all honesty, Luchadora Serpentine is the person that scares me the most. I mean, I'm telling you right now, I am just terrified of this woman, and I have to talk to the world's greatest attorney, Sofia Lopez, and find out if there's any way that I can get on Luchadora Serpentine's good side. As you can see, I tried to get a free meal out of the deal there, and that just completely fell apart there. So, I don't know. What do you think, folks? Do you think she likes me, or do you think that she wants to beat me up? I kind of got a feeling that she wants to beat me up, so I better watch myself there. And I'm telling you right now, you have to go do whatever you can. Find that match. WoW Superheroes Season 2, the main event, Luchadora Serpentine versus Tessa Blanchard for the WoW Superheroes Championship. That match was a knockdown dragout, just legitimately a match of the year candidate. And what I really loved about it is the fact that there was no weapons used. They just went out there and had a great wrestling match without any kind of foreign objects or anything like that. They just went at it, man. I mean, as the match was going on, as you folks saw on the Duke Loves Rasslin Twitter page, I was live tweeting with the other folks at WoW Superheroes and all of you fans who are fans of the show, this podcast and WoW Superheroes. There was just a lot of positive energy. And if I'm not mistaken, WoW Superheroes, man, they're the highest rated show in Access TV history. And there's no surprise there, because the quality of the product that they're pushing out is just tremendous. So again, if you get a chance, please check out the match Tessa Blanchard versus Luchadora Serpentine, Episode 2, Season 2, WoW Superheroes. Just great stuff. And Access TV, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. That's on Saturday nights. Definitely can't miss it, folks. It's good stuff there. Wow. But seriously, I got to do something, man, because I think she's not happy with me, and I don't need Luchadora Serpentine tracking me down and put me in some kind of hold and, breaking my arm or something. I don't need those problems. Goodness gracious. Welcome back to Duke Loves Wrestling podcast, folks. As you can see, we continue to fire on all cylinders, man. We're not messing around here. Okay. In fact, I got a special guest that's coming up next week. Another person who is one of the top wrestlers in the world there. And you're going to have to stay tuned. I'll give you a hint later in the show. Stay tuned to later in the show. I'll let you know who that's going to be. But as for this episode, boy, I'll tell you right now, we're going to check back in with my homegirl, Michelle Evans. Now, this is the young lady who was on 2 weeks ago. She's in that contest to be the next Maxim magazine cover girl. If she wins that, she also gets a couple of bucks that she's going to put towards medical school, which she's currently in right now. Really great person. So she's going to give us an update on how her progress is going. Did she make it to the next round? Stay tuned. She's going to give us all that information. But before we get to any of that.
Welcome back to Duke Loves Wrestling podcast. Mr. Greg Coleman. How are you, Greg?
I'm great, Duke. How you doing?
Hey, man. You already know, man. I'm the same guy. I'm just very, very excited with this current climate in the wrestling community right now. Before we jump into the top stories, though, Greg, tell everybody, you're a freelance wrestling journalist here. Tell us about some of the places you've written for and what have you.
Yeah, so currently I write for smarkoutmoment.com, and if anybody's not familiar with that, Tony Mango, who's one of the contributing writers for Bleacher Report, that's his website that he kind of owns and operates. So if you've ever been on there under the extras section, you've probably seen some things that I've written. And my latest piece was something that Duke gave me a rave review on, was how AEW has failed to go all in or all out to truly be the anti-WWE alternative that they've played up so much so far during their formation and rise to prominence.
Well, and listen, Greg, you and I butt heads pretty much every day. So
Absolutely.
it was very impressive to see you finally come to your senses and write something that actually makes sense. So, because I've been waiting for you to come to your senses, man. We've definitely argued about what AEW has marketed versus what they've delivered.
We have.
And you were pushing against it this entire time, and then suddenly you come out with this masterpiece of an article. And folks, you got to go over to smarkoutmoments.com and check it out. You have this masterpiece of an article where you finally own up to the fact that AEW has not delivered what they've marketed.
Yeah, and so Duke, I would say that you saw the light more so when it flickered on, and I just had to wait till it was on for a little bit longer. So I'll give you kudos for you saw it early, and you capitalized, and you spoke about it, and I gave you some grief about it, but I like to think of myself as being an objective person. I'm a wrestling fan. I don't play favorites. And just some of the things that I've seen based on what they've said, they haven't really done as much as I thought that they would have done, given that they've had 4 shows and 2 major pay-per-views by their standards.
That's a very good point. And I always say, if you're going to market something, then you lead with that something. Don't tell me you're going to do something and then tell me I got to wait for it. When it's time to show and prove, and it's like, hey, where's the beef? Oh, man, you got to wait for the beef. But you told me you were going to deliver steak. Yeah, but you got to wait for that, man. It's going to come later on. No, I'm not coming to your restaurant if you're going to do a bait and switch on me like that. So,
right, that's a very valid point. Valid point.
Yes, sir. Well, listen, let's talk about some of these top stories real quick, and I definitely want to start off with Wow Superheroes, their latest episode that they had, which it was just tremendous. And folks, again, if you get a chance, if you have video on demand service or what have you, you gotta check out the latest. This is episode 2 of season 2, Wow Superheroes. In the main event, Wow Superheroes champion Tessa Blanchard, she took on Serpentine. I gotta say that right now. It's not Serpentine. Serpentine. And for my money, it was one of the matches of the year. I mean, it was just a fantastic match. Greg, you're familiar with Thunder Rosa, who's been on the indie scene for a few years there. You know,
I am.
She's traveled all over the world. She's a tough customer. And, of course, you also know Tessa Blanchard.
Absolutely.
What do you think about the matchmaking of putting literally two of the best wrestlers on the planet? First of all, having them in your promotion, but putting them in a match where you know it's going to be hard-hitting and you know that they were going to go at it, and they certainly did. It was about 20 minutes long. What do you think about the matchmaking there?
I think it's a brilliant move by WOW because Tessa is arguably, I mean, when she's discussed now, she's kind of transcended being discussed as best women's wrestler. I hear so many people talk about her as just being best wrestler, period, which honestly I think that's how it should be because, you know, just looking at WWE's talent roster, there are some really talented women there who I feel definitely deserve to be in the best wrestler conversation, period, and not just women's wrestling. So that's a match that I haven't gotten the chance to watch yet. I definitely will be going to watch it because I am a big fan of Tessa. I actually got a chance to see her work at a local wrestling promotion show when I was back visiting my parents in Chicago, Warrior Wrestling. And her and Daga wrestled the Lucha Brothers. So that was a nice treat to see at a small show at a high school gym. But yeah, she's one bad woman. So I think definitely looking forward to watching that match and watching more Thunder Rosa as far as the matchmaking. I think you get two of the best together. Only good things that happen. And from what you're saying to me is that happened and then some. So kudos to WOW for making the match and kudos to those ladies for performing and delivering.
I think the thing that really got me engaged in the match, and I don't want to spoil it for you. I got to be careful here, but I will give you this little piece here. There were no foreign objects. They didn't need a chair. They didn't need a kendo stick. They didn't need to go through 10 tables. None of that. Just two people beating the hell out of each other, doing whatever it takes to try to win the match and become the WOW women's champion there. And I mean, what can you say about that? They're superheroes, and they certainly proved that there. So definitely, I'm going to have to get your take. In fact, when we post the show, once you see that match, Greg, if you wouldn't mind, I'd love to see your comments on the show post that we put on the Facebook and the Twitter there. Let everybody know what you personally thought of the match, because I think that'll be an interesting perspective shared there. Okay,
absolutely. Yeah, I'll watch it tonight.
You see how I did that, folks? I challenged them there. You see how I did that? That's right. Slick. Now, another big story is that we're coming off of a pay-per-view, Night of Champions. You know, WWE had on Sunday, which, you know, there was definitely a lot of action there. What was your take on the Night of Champions pay-per-view there, Greg?
Well, you know, technically, Duke, it's called Clash of Champions now. But
you know something? Hold on. You're absolutely right, and this is what happens here. You live for these moments when the Duke can be proven wrong. I'm calling it Night of Champions because I was looking back. Facebook sent me a message the other day. 2015, Night of Champions was here in Boston, Massachusetts.
Got it.
And I was looking at those old photos, literally same time period and what have you. So you're absolutely right. You got me there, man. Clash of Champions.
I mean, same concept. All titles are being defended. I thought overall it was a solid show. I would have liked to seen AJ and Cedric appear on the main portion of the show. That's just a nitpick for me. Didn't really have any the booking decisions that I was against. I mean, the New Day losing the titles to the Revival, I think that could work if they're going to kind of extend out the rivalry with the Revival and Randy Orton against the New Day, which it doesn't seem like they are based on what we've seen on SmackDown, with the Beast is coming on October 4th to challenge Kofi. I think the show ended excellent with the Fiend attacking Seth. I was wondering because in the previous Firefly Funhouses, he was making mention of both Seth and Braun. So I wasn't sure if he was going to interrupt the match and then we get some kind of triple threat inside of the cell, but I think they did it perfectly. So I think him and Seth are going to have a great match. I think it's going to be a great build up to that match, and I'm looking forward to Hell in a Cell.
Well stated, and I really can't disagree with anything you said there. I feel like the pay-per-view, it wasn't perfect, but it wasn't bad. You know, right. It was a very good pay-per-view, and most importantly, what you touched upon, it did a great job of setting up what's coming next. You know, anyone who watched Raw or SmackDown this week coming off the pay-per-view, you could clearly see things are happening, exciting things are happening here. Whether it be Luke Harper is back and him and Rowan got their thing going on. You know, you name it. Sasha Banks and Bayley are continuing their bad girl thing going on here.
Right.
Which, you know, now you have Becky Lynch, Charlotte, and old Carmella is in the mix as well. There's just a lot of little things that's happening that the pay-per-view did a great job of setting it up, and then they've continued these various storylines here. So that's, I think it was a very good pay-per-view.
I would agree.
This is what WWE is doing right now, man. They're firing on all cylinders with these pay-per-views, which, ironically, the build to these pay-per-views are pretty weak, in my opinion. It's not the same excitement, I have to see it tonight type of situation that we're used to. Yet, when you finally get to the pay-per-view, the action itself more than makes up for the weak builds.
Yeah, and I would agree with that. And I think a big reason for that could be kind of the frequency of the pay-per-views. So I think when they actually take the time to kind of dig in and sink their teeth in and say, we're going to build stories, I think those are when you get your better pay-per-view builds. But when they just kind of say, well, okay, we got a pay-per-view, so we got to put some matches together, I think you can kind of see that and it shows. But, like, I agree with you. You know, SummerSlam, Clash of Champions delivered. I have great hopes and expectations that Hell in a Cell will deliver just based on the matches they've announced so far. So, yeah, they're definitely on the upswing.
Speaking of upswing, boy, this past Wednesday we finally got it. NXT debuted on the USA Network, at least the first hour. Now keep in mind, folks, USA Network, they have this show Suits. It's been one of their highest rated programming that's not WWE for the past, 5, 6, 7 years. And Suits this is their last season. So they're in the midst of their final few episodes here. So that is why Wednesday night, SmackDown only aired for 1 hour from 8 to 9 on USA, and then the final hour aired on the WWE Network because Suits comes on at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on the USA Network. So it was actually a clever tie-in, to be honest with you, because you had two strong shows back-to-back on USA. That was a smart move. But don't worry, in 2 weeks, it's going to be live and popping. SmackDown, 2 hours live, NXT 2 hours live on the USA Network Wednesday nights. What did you think of the first NXT live on USA Network? What did you think of this here?
I am a huge fan of NXT, as you know. It's by far my favorite brand currently going under the WWE umbrella. And I felt like it was flawless. I can't think of anything last night that was off, that was bad, that I would have changed. It's just everything clicked. And from the sequencing of the show, even the way that they knew that they had to split the show up where 1 hour was going to be on USA cable television, the other hour was going to be on the network. Even how they framed the card, putting the women out first. So when people who may watch Raw and SmackDown who don't watch NXT, now they can see who are the top women in the women's division in a fatal 4-way for the number 1 contender spot for who's going to face the only 2-time NXT champion Shayna Baszler. And those women showed up, showed out. Excellent match from everyone. Then they ended the hour with the Undisputed Era fulfilling the prophecy via Roderick Strong defeating the Velveteen Dream in another great match. So now Undisputed Era has all the titles in NXT. So I thought it was excellent. Major win for WWE and that entire talent roster in NXT. And so the crazy thing is that they just scratched the surface with that talent that they can feature. Because, I mean, we got the return of Leo Rush last night, which I'm not sure if you probably had heard something about it because your ear's a little closer to the street than mine is, but that was a complete shock to me when I saw the graphic pop up that he was going to be in a number 1 contenders match. And the fact that they were doing cruiserweight matches on NXT opens it up now, I believe, for a future 205 Live tie-in to the 2-hour NXT. Then you had the appearance by Walter and Imperium from NXT UK. So, Grand Slam, salute to Triple H, salute to WWE, salute to the entire NXT roster that was on display last night. They killed it.
Oh, and let me just say, Greg Coleman, please don't disrespect my good friend Vincent Kennedy McMahon. It's nice that you want to give Triple H credit. That's very nice. But just remember who pays all the bills there. That's Vince McMahon's company. Okay.
Yeah,
so shout out to Vincent Kennedy
but
McMahon.
doesn't he have a football organization he's trying to get off the ground?
That doesn't matter. This is still his company. Any success, Vince McMahon is responsible for it one way or another. So, we're going to honor my friend Vincent Kennedy McMahon. That's the way it has to be. That's right. I'm going to tell you something that I saw, and you let me know if this matters to you, though.
Okay.
The show starts.
Mm-hmm.
And you have Triple H. He does his very quick speech. It was like I don't even know if it was 30 seconds. It may have been 20 second, this is NXT, whatever. Mauro Ranallo, who is the lead commentator, he says a few words. Then we go straight to the action. The ring announcer, woman of color.
Right.
The referee, a woman. This match that we have is a fatal 4-way. 3 women of color, 1 white woman, battling it out to take on the champion at a later date, who is a woman of color. What I saw from NXT right out of the gate was just complete diversity in every way. They just gave it to you straight. They wanted to let you know. They made a statement that this is who we are. We're showcasing our best talent, and the first thing that you're going to see is what it means to showcase the best talent, what it means to be a company that believes in diversity and that's going to practice what they preach. And also, I failed to mention, the 3-person commentary team, there's a woman on that 3-person commentary team. Diversity everywhere is what I saw. In addition to this quality wrestling product that you just could not ignore. Did you see what I saw, and does it even matter to you?
No, I definitely did notice that and I didn't take into account the ring announcer because I've seen her so many times watching NXT, weekly TV. But that's a very great point you made about the diversity. Putting those women in that spot, the first hour on their first show live, to me, that was an important vote of confidence for the women's division for NXT, because I thought of last night that they would probably approach it kind of like a takeover. They would really want to come out, have a strong presence, especially given that they only would have 1 hour on USA. And usually, if you watch takeovers, the tag team title match always goes first, 9 times out of 10. And those have been some of the better matches. So for them to have the confidence in the women to say, this isn't a takeover, but this is our first live weekly show. And we trust that you four can go out there and deliver. And they did. I just felt like that was excellent. So I think credit to NXT for not playing it safe and saying, well, let's book a Street Profits, O'Reilly and Fish rematch and put it in that slot. Nope. They said they could have easily put that match on the network portion too, but they didn't. They wanted the world watching on USA for that hour to see those four women kill it. And those four women did it. And I think that is a credit to all four women involved. And it's a credit to NXT and just the strength of their, not only their women's division, but their quality of wrestling, period. Like I said, it was a flawless show, in my opinion.
Well stated. Well stated. And let's piggyback now, because we're talking about wrestling on a Wednesday night.
Right.
Can't talk about wrestling on a Wednesday night without talking about the quote-unquote war. This is the new wrestling war. So we have NXT, which did their debut. We just found out moments ago that All Elite Wrestling, AEW, they finally have named their programming, which is going to start next month on Wednesday nights at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. The name of the program is going to be Dynamite. Not Nitro. Dynamite. I wonder where they got that idea from.
It's funny that they went with Dynamite, because I had been seeing mock-up posters, nothing official from AEW, talking about Wednesday Night Dynamite for what seems to be like 2 or 3 months. So the fact that they actually picked Dynamite, maybe they were just all sitting around brainstorming and said, I guess we'll just go with Dynamite. That works.
Well, the thing that makes me scratch my head is, why did it take so long? It's almost, and I hate to use this word, but it almost feels dysfunctional. Your show is going to debut in a month. You had the upfronts that just happened. This is that convention where the TV networks, they bring out representatives from their top fall programming, and the idea is, yes, this is the exciting programming that we're going to offer to everybody. When it came to AEW, they didn't have a name for what this show was going to be. And from a branding and marketing standpoint, it is such a disadvantage for them to be at the upfronts, and they don't have a name of the TV show. All you need to know is that this wrestling company that you've never heard of before is going to have a TV show that we don't have a name for, but we expect you, advertiser, to spend money and advertise your product while this is going on. Come on.
Well, I mean, I definitely agree with you that from a marketing standpoint, it would have been a stronger position for them to have a name that TNT could have figured out how to work into other advertising. But I still feel like TNT did a pretty damn good job of even just saying AEW on TNT, which maybe they were kicking around actually just leaving that as the name. So I think it may show that they might have been, maybe they were in between two thought processes and then they just couldn't pull that trigger and make a decision. I'm not sure. But honestly, I just got to the point where I thought it was going to be AEW on TNT. So when I saw you post Dynamite, I was just thinking, okay, cool. It is a little late because you would think that they would want to have the name in place before they actually rolled it out and presented it. If it was going to be something different than what they've already been having people advertise. But in the grand scheme of things, they can just call it Dynamite, and I think the fans who are going to watch it were going to watch it regardless. But I will say you make a good point about maybe a little bit of hesitation and not having all their ducks in a row when that curtain went up for them at the upfronts and to discuss their show.
Unfortunately, it's just more of the same. It still comes back to, who's on first here, as the classic comedy bit is? Who's on first? I mean, it's like, if you're going to run a company and you're going to put all this money into it, then why don't you get the right people in place to actually execute on the basics? This includes press releases that make sense. This includes come up with a name for your TV show. You know, these are basic things here. And I understand that you have to go through the process of branding and things like that. But that you're supposed to lead with that. That's something that you get done from the beginning. So there's this, it still comes back to this mantra of, we're going to get to it later. It's coming. You know what I mean? It's the kid that puts off doing his homework until the last minute.
Right.
It's just crazy to me. And speaking of crazy, you got Kenny Omega. He comes out with some ridiculous statements he made in an interview with Sportkeeda, where he talked about NXT, and to paraphrase, he's essentially saying they're developmental. They can't compete with us. We're stars. We're stars. If there was no wrestling promotions and we were all just in the same place competing at the same time, those guys can't compare to us. We're stars, and they're just developmental guys. Now, come on, Greg. I need your thoughts on this, man. What the heck is Kenny Omega talking about, and has he lost his mind?
Okay, so I am a big fan of Kenny Omega. I feel like he's one of the best workers in the world as a professional wrestler. I've been a fan of his for years, since I discovered him in New Japan during his rivalry with Okada, who's also a excellent wrestler. When I saw those comments, and I hadn't heard about them until you brought them to my attention. Kenny just can't say that. I'm just going to be flat out honest. To say that it's not going to be a war, and then to say it's not going to be a war, not because, NXT is a part of the WWE machine and they are light years ahead of all other professional wrestling organizations, and they're a conglomerate and yada, yada, publicly traded, everything like that. So we're just starting out. So we're not going to throw rocks at the throne, pun intended, because what Cody did at Double or Nothing. But to say that it's because there's such a talent gap that between AEW and NXT, and that's why it's not going to be a war, because AEW has so much more star power, that's ridiculous. It's like, to fans who know, and most casual fans will probably be more familiar with the WWE Raw and SmackDown products anyways, but for hardcore fans that watch both NXT, AEW, and New Japan, where Kenny and the Bucks and Cody spent a significant amount of time, as well as Hangman, it's like, you can't convince me that Gargano, Ciampa, Velveteen Dream, Matt Riddle, Adam Cole wouldn't be at the top of any AEW or New Japan Pro Wrestling card that Kenny was on. Period.
You're right about that. Everything you just said, you're right about. It really makes me scratch my head, because I just don't. Some folks are saying, well, he was speaking in character. Even if you were speaking in character, what you said was unacceptable.
Yeah, you can't say that. I mean, because what it makes you look like is, it makes it almost look like you're cutting a promo, but you're talking about your company. So why should we really take you serious if you're going to say something that outlandish? Because you can make a strong case that Johnny Gargano has been the best wrestler in the world based on his match quality and consistency the past 2 years. And to say that he's a developmental talent, come on, dude.
Kenny Omega, get your act together, man. Okay.
Yeah, please. And like I said,
all,
I'm a fan, but when I saw that quote, I couldn't even defend that. I couldn't play devil's advocate on it. So.
Well, the part that really makes me scratch my head is the fact that they don't have a unified message as a company. 1 minute they're trashing WWE.
Right.
The next minute they're saying, no, there's no war, and everybody just watch whatever you want to watch, and I don't know why people keep talking about a war and all this other stuff. And then they go back to this stuff. Just make up your mind. You know? And when you don't have a strong marketing and media department who can literally rein everybody in and say, guys, ladies and gentlemen, one message, unified message. This is what we're going to say to the world. And then we're going to let the quality of our work speak for itself in addition to that. That's what you do. So, again, it comes back to the same concept. Who's on first? You know, it's like it's almost as if everyone is doing their own thing.
Right.
And they're not communicating with one another as they're doing it.
And that was one of the reasons that I wrote the article that I wrote, and I even said it in there, is I think if AEW would have just went out and focused on putting on, you know, great quality wrestling according to their standard, their playbook, I don't think they would have gotten as much attention on the parts that they're showing, that on the things that they're not delivering on, I would say. Because I don't think people would have had a bar of expectation to put on them outside of knowing who a few of their performers are. But when you constantly talk about the king, and then you talk about how you're going to be different from the king, and I got pushback from people who read the article and they said, well, they never came out and said they wanted to be anti-WWE. I mean, everything from the shots they've taken to the, whether directly or indirectly, things that Cody has said, things that Jericho has said, now stuff that Kenny is saying, some of the little actions within their shows, on the YouTube series, they're pretty much saying we're not going to be WWE. And if that's your goal, cool. But just know now the lights are going to be on you even more to prove that you're not going to be the WWE. For whatever that means to you, good, bad, or indifferent. And a lot of the decisions they're making and a lot of the things they're doing haven't been showing that. And I think you just touched on a very important one. And it's nothing wrong with saying that they want to compete. But I think it's a smart way to say that where it doesn't make you look crazy like Kenny Omega's comments made him look crazy.
You see that, folks? That's not me. Now, this is a guy who has no qualms about disagreeing with me and calling me out, and yet here he is agreeing with me. Just putting it out there, folks. You saw it. You hear it for yourself now. That's right. Listen, Greg, if any of the listeners want to check you out online, follow your stuff, well, what's the best way that they can keep an eye on what Greg Coleman has going on?
You can check me out, Greg Coleman on Facebook, GM Coleman on Instagram. Again, go to smarkoutmoment.com, click in extras. You'll see all the pieces that I've written previously, and I'll definitely will have some more coming, I'm sure, once these Wednesday night wars get fully cranked up. So yeah, thank you for having me, Duke. I appreciate it.
You know, Greg Coleman, that's a good dude right there, man. It's a good dude. He and I don't always agree on a lot of things, but good dude, knows his wrestling, very passionate, which is what I really appreciate about Greg. It's always nice to talk to people who know what they're talking about. You know what I mean? So definitely give him a follow. He's a fun follow. Does a good job with his writing as well, which I always appreciate. Okay, we're going to take a quick break. And as I promised before, folks, up next, we're going to check back in with Michelle Evans, who's vying for the cover. She wants to be the next cover girl for Maxim magazine. And I'm also going to give you some information on who's going to be our special guest next week. So be right back.
This is former WWE superstar Al Snow, and I have created the wrestling brand, collar and elbow brand. It's wrestling apparel made by a wrestler for the wrestling fan in all of us. The love, the passion you have for wrestling is in this apparel. collarandelbowbrand.com. Buy it today, and also round up your purchase and help support the former wrestlers who made it possible for you to love wrestling today. Go to collarandelbowbrand.com and help support Cauliflower Alley Club and their charitable effort.
All right, folks. So like we said, we had the fantastic part of the Duke's Wrestling crew here, Michelle. She's competing to be the Maxim magazine, the next cover girl for Maxim magazine. And keep in mind, she's a med student. Part of winning that contest is that they'll give her a couple bucks that she can put towards her studies. Who can't relate to student loans? Who can't relate to, paying for an education, try to improve your life and what have you? And it ain't cheap. So definitely commend this young lady for what she's doing, because it's been incredible, an incredible ride here. And as we promised you 2 weeks ago, when this first started off, we're bringing Michelle back to give you an update. So without further ado, welcome back to the Duke Loves Wrestling podcast. Michelle, how are you?
Hi, everyone. I'm great. It's been one hell of a ride, I'll tell you that, and I'm enjoying every part of it.
When we first had you on the show, you were really in the thick of things. You were part of a bracket that, had something like 40-some-odd people, what have you, that you were competing against just in this one bracket. And you managed to get yourself up to the top 5, and then we saw you moved up, and you were top 3. Then you were trading places 1 and 2, 1 and 2, 1 and 2, and at this very moment, I mean, we're at the point now where you just made it into the top 10. So this is a couple of rounds later now, and you're still messing around with top 1, top 2, top 1, top 2. It's just been an incredible journey there. How does it feel?
It feels pretty fantastic. As where I first started, it seemed pretty surreal, and I just really didn't know how to take the feelings. Now it's just, I don't know, it's just, maybe I still don't even know how to feel. It's just really exciting. I couldn't be more thankful for everyone who has put in votes and Wounded Warrior donations. It's been super helpful. I am so thankful. So thank you, everybody from everywhere who's been helping me out, voting for me. You're amazing.
Right after you came on the show, there was like a reinvigoration of support. And the wave, I mean, just goodness, we've seen other people throughout the brackets there, and they've gone up and down and all over the place and what have you. But you've stayed pretty consistent, and so many people from around the world who are part of our listenership, Duke's Wrestling crew, and they listen here to the podcast, it's almost as if they've taken on a type of ownership where they want to see you, Michelle, become the next cover girl for Maxim magazine. How does it feel to know that all these strangers are taking time out of their day to support you?
Honestly, it's rewarding. It's very uplifting. I feel really, really loved, I think, by even people that I don't know. It's actually given me a whole different outlook on how people support people from afar, not knowing who they are, and just kind of reading and getting to know about somebody, whether it's through, articles or podcasts or just the internet. It's impressive. It's very heartwarming. I'm really extremely, with more words than I could say, thankful.
Now, what was interesting is that you actually made it to the cover. You were the cover story for the pop culture website Black Rabbit. Talk to us about that experience, because they did a little interview with you, and you put up some information, what have you, but you were literally, when everyone went to that website, your face was the first thing that they saw. What was that about?
Yeah, that was crazy. I mean, I think I was so excited about just having the article, I didn't even realize that I was feature of that until actually you mentioned it to me, and so I had to go back and kind of retake the whole notion over again, as it was crazy, incredible, so many words. It was also another very heartwarming situation, and just knowing so many people have done so much already for a competition that's still so early in the competition, if that makes sense.
No, that makes there, and it's interesting because you would think that, somebody who's super famous or somebody that has some crazy network or what have you, obviously they're going to be at the top and they're going to do that. But you said to me offline numerous times that, you're just a regular hardworking girl, and it's
I am just a regular hardworking girl. I can't even lie about that.
But it's crazy though, because you're just a regular hardworking girl. You're going up against all of these quote unquote Instagram models and all of these folks who allegedly have all this fanfare. Has your perspective been affected at all regarding what that whole situation is like? I mean, I know that when we go to people's social media and we see, so-and-so has hundreds of thousands of followers, oh my God, they really get a lot of support, what have you. You don't have any of that, and yet you're in the top two. Talk to us about that. Has that changed your perspective at all, or was your perspective always maybe what we see in that regard isn't what it really is?
I think it's definitely changed my perspective. I was like, I'm against a lot of, number one, I'm against a lot of girls that, have way more followers than I do. And just in general, I'm just going against a lot of girls. Granted, I've competed against a lot of women in Miss California pageant, so I'm familiar with it, but it's all so much to take in, I've gotten a few perspectives on a couple things as far as especially the one person that I go back and forth with and the 1 and 2. That's been very interesting. I think in general, again, all I can really say is that I think your personality stands out for itself, and maybe my personality, maybe the people who know me, the people who don't know me, and just the way I speak, hopefully sets myself apart from every other person that I'm competing with, in the sense that I think it has set me apart, and everybody that I'm competing with to be in the position that I am and not to have as many followers, or my social media not crazy exploded at this point, It takes me to a whole other place of just saying, hey, you generally have to be a very good person for people to have your back that don't even know you.
Wow, that's very well stated there, and definitely something that everyone can take hold of and hold on to there and really think about. If you're putting out positive energy to the world, if you're legitimately a good person and you're showing that, you're not out here trying to be malicious or hurt anybody, what have you, just genuinely are just out there trying to help people and be the best person you can be. It's amazing what you can get back in return. It's amazing the type of support and the people who will come out of the woodwork just to see you succeed because they want to root for you. It's really an interesting story and interesting ride here. So tell us again, what's the name of the contest and how can folks vote for you and keep this train going?
So the name of the contest is Maxim's Next Cover Girl. You can find it on my Facebook page. You can find it on my Instagram page. My Instagram page is Lee_Meesh, so it's LEIDH_MEEESH. And then my Facebook is Michelle Evans.
Over on Twitter, over on Facebook, you name it. Just type in Duke Loves Rasslin. We're going to put it all up there as we have been. I try to post it daily, especially on the Twitter page. There's been a lot of support on Twitter voting for Michelle. And keep in mind, everybody, you get one free vote every 24 hours. So every 24 hours, let's say if you do it right before you start work in the morning, you can make that part of your routine. It's a free vote. You can also get a couple of extra votes if you were to donate to one of the Wounded Warrior projects, which Maxim has combined with on this special search for the next Maxim cover girl. So, if you donate at least $1 to the Wounded Warrior project that they're collaborating with here, some of the proceeds will go there, and also there'll be extra votes that will go to Michelle. So please, continue to vote, continue to support this young lady. She is in the hunt, and a lot of that has to do with the loyal listeners of Duke Loves Rasslin, because you guys are just showing up, man.
Everybody, thank you again so much.
It's always fun to talk to good people. You know what I mean? Just really good people. They're baby faces. You can't help but root for them. And Michelle Evans is definitely, she fits that bill 100%. So I want to thank everybody that's part of the Duke Loves Rasslin fan base. You listeners, you really have done a very good job of supporting this young lady. You're logging into the website and you're voting for Michelle each time for the next Maxim magazine cover girl. And she's doing a very great job. I mean, she's in the top 10. She keeps moving on in these rounds, man. So we'll see. I think she can really do it. I think she can really win this competition. And she's going to do it because of your support. Again, you can vote once every 24 hours. It's free. Vote once every 24 hours. Hey, let's help this young lady achieve this goal here. So shout out to Michelle. Again, we'll check back in with her, and she'll continue to give us updates on how this thing is going. It's been a great show, folks. I mean, again, Luchadora Serpentine. I got to make sure I say that name right. Sofia Lopez, she already threatened to sue me. Goodness gracious. Luchadora Serpentine, fantastic guest, terrified me. Greg Coleman, thank you very much for joining us this week. Great guest. And, of course, Michelle Evans. Next week, you got to tune in for the return of the WoW Superheroes badass. We're talking about Jessie Jones. She's coming back, and she has plenty to say about what's going to be going down season 2 of WoW Superheroes. I can't wait to hear back from her because, when she was on the show last season, the response was just tremendous. Everyone loved that interview with Jessie Jones. So she's going to come back. She's going to light it up again for us. Can't wait. I also want to remind everybody, it's this Saturday, Valor Bare Knuckle 1. This is the inaugural episode or pay-per-view event, I should say. Ken Shamrock's Bare Knuckle MMA promotion. Okay, it's going to be a stacked card. It's going to be amazing. If you go back a couple weeks, Ken Shamrock was on the show and he gave you some information about what to expect from that card. I can't wait to see it. I think it's going to be fun, man. And you can rest assured there's definitely going to be some knockouts there. I have no doubt about that. So, Valor Bare Knuckle 1. It's going to be their very first event. Live on the, I think it's the Fight app. If you check out the Fight app, you'll definitely be able to catch that. So, just a lot of good stuff coming up, man. In fact, I got to reach out to my buddy Reed. We got a big boxing match coming up. So I got to check in with Reed and have him come out and break things down for us, what to expect later on this month as well. So, a lot of exciting things happening, folks. I'm telling you, the hits just keep coming. And I'm loving it. And I appreciate you continuing to take this ride with the Duke Loves Rasslin podcast. It continues to just be fun, man. Absolutely. Okay, as always, be kind to yourselves. Be kind to others. We're going to have the Duke of Dorchester lead us out this week. Bye-bye, everybody.
Hey, this is the Duke of Dorchester. The one, the only, the man of the hour. Yeah, can you handle that, baby? I want to tell you this. You've been listening to Duke Loves Rasslin.